Hi guys, it's Lynn here. Hope you're having an incredible day. Now today I'm going to be potting up my Rhipsalis cacti into this wonderful hanging basket. And I have a few different types of Rhipsalis, and although they do look very similar with their hanging stems here, like pencil-like stems, there are actually 4 different types I've got here. And this one is the Rhipsalis, the most commonly one known as the mistletoe cacti, and it has lovely tiny little white flowers, usually anything from sort of the Christmas time around the December up until the April time. In fact, this has been flowering up until recently, and loads of new buds in fact forming on there. And this is actually the end of May, and there's flower buds forming, and there's loads of seed pods from the previous flowers as well. These can be harvested for seed, which is wonderful. And this is another different type as well. They do look very similar, and the flowers are very similar too, but they are all different types. And this one, as you can see, is a different, completely different look about it. It's more of a lighter colour, and more sort of the little branches, the little bunches of tiny little modified little leaves all grouped together, almost like a little tree. So they are different but very similar. This one is a Rhipsalis pendulifloria, and this one is a Rhipsalis paradoxia, this one here. And what I'm going to be doing then is potting these up. I've made the soil mixture up. I'll just show you. Whoops, sorry about that. I've made the soil mixture up there, and it is a mixture of John Innes number 2 and with a bit of extra perlite. Now, normally with the desert type of cacti, I also use a bit of horticultural sand as well for extra drainage. But because I've actually got epiphytic cacti, Rhipsalis like much more of a richer moisture in the soil than the desert type. So I've only used a bit of perlite just for extra aeration in the roots, and I haven't added the sand. And that's all mixed up, but I like to use a bit of perlite or grit just for a bit of extra aeration there. And I've got the hanging basket ready, and I've got the 4 different types of Rhipsalis. Although they do look similar, I can guarantee they are all different, as I keep saying. And now I'm going to be potting these up into the hanging basket. And it's going to be fairly easy enough. I'm just going to put a little bit of soil into the bottom first to fill it up. And the hanging basket is one like that I'm using that has like a coconut core base to it. And this, although it hasn't got holes in the bottom as such, it has the coconut core, so it lets water run through the bottom of it. So it also gives aeration to the roots as well. It's really important that you have drainage with hanging baskets. If you use a plastic one without any holes in, or any escape route for the excess water to go, your plants can rot. As in this case, although it hasn't got holes, the coconut core has plenty of aeration where the moisture can just drip straight through afterwards. Now I'm just going to sorry about the noise, guys. Hopefully you should be able to see. If not, I'll move the camera. Yeah, you should be able to see there what I'm doing. And as I say, just put a bit of soil into the bottom, and then going to be, I think fill it up a little bit more here, and then put the plants all around. I say I always like to make my own soil mix up. Not only is it more economical, but you know what's going into it, because a lot of the cheap soil mixes that you get aren't very good. I've opened bags of houseplant soil in the past, and it's got flies in it and everything, but I always like to use John Innes, and just add a little bit of extra sand or perlite, and just do the soil how I like to measure. As in this case, epiphytic, you take a lot of richer soil. Hopefully the wind noise is not too bad, guys. It's a beautiful day today, but it is very, very windy. Now I'm going to put the largest one in first, so I'm going to squeeze that out. So it has a great root system. Now when you're repotting, it's always a fantastic idea just to check over the root system, to check there's no signs of any bugs or anything like that. As in this case, the root system is very good. The little white bits of perlite, not merely bugs. And it is a nice healthy root system there. So I'm just going to put the largest one then in the middle like that. I'm going to be putting the soil all around, so that's going to stay in there. And then the smaller ones, the next largest one will be this one. I'm going to have that then going this side here, so it's going to be trailing down, and the two small ones can go at the other side. Just check you can see there, just move this a little longer away there, that's great. Now, squeezing the pot out to here. Great root system again, which is wonderful to see. As I say, it's always good. Now, some people often say that when you're repotting plants to loosen up the roots, but to me, if the roots are fairly sort of loose and they're not really congested, or there's no signs of bugs, I prefer to leave the roots as they are and then just gently put the new soil around. I think the less you can touch the roots, the better, personally, as long as they're healthy enough and they're not. If the roots are very congested and matted up, then obviously you need to gently tease them out so they'll settle into the new soil. In this case, I don't need to worry, so that's great there. Now I just need to put the other two in, and so this one is the next big longy one. This one, I haven't got a label for this one. I'm not sure what it was. It was gifted to me as a cutting, but it's similar to the other ones, but it's a lighter stemmed variety, and also the stems are more sort of square rather than round, so I'm not quite sure what type this is, but it does flower. The flowers are very similar. That one can then go, I think, around here. Oops. Can go over here. So there's a variety of different lengths going all around the hanging basket here. And then the other little one here can then possibly go at the side. Make sure I keep the label for this one and squeeze the pot. Again, lovely healthy root system there, which is great. The little stems that have fallen off here have all taken root, so that's wonderful. Just trying to think, maybe put that one around here because there's a bit more space around here also. I think I might move that one a little bit further up. Here, that's great. And now all I have to do then is move this a bit further along, so I could just space them out, is just put a little bit of the soil then all in between, so it gets all the soil filling up all the gaps. And in here. And then make sure there's no gaps going all the way around the sides. That's great. And the good thing is about grouping plants together, especially things like Rhipsalis, is because they are sort of epiphytic, they do like the extra moisture. So by grouping these type of plants together, they give each other moisture as well. It increases the humidity levels. They're very different to other types of cacti that like to be kept as dry as possible, especially during the winter. These plants do like humidity, so it's important that they're not kept bone dry, and they are sort of kept watered throughout the winter months as well. And they do like to be kept ideally a little bit warmer than the desert cacti when they're overwintered. Now, I overwintered these in the polytunnel at a minimum of about 7 Celsius, which is probably about 45 degrees Fahrenheit, and they did very well, I have to say, no problems, and they've all been flowering, so they seem to pretty good like that. But ideally they say about 8 to 9, 10 Celsius, but I think it all depends on if you keep them dry. I kept these pretty much dry, but I would give them a bit of water throughout the winter every now and then if they showed signs of shriveling. As I say, the desert cacti are very different. It doesn't matter if they shrivel as much as such. The trick is to keep them completely dry during the winter. Looks good. Nearly done. And to make sure that all the sides are filled in here. That's great. Then what I'm going to be doing then is possibly giving this a bit of a spray with a bit of rainwater, just to get the plants to settle into their new environment. But I'm not going to give them a proper water probably for a few days, probably about 5 days, Reason being is that if any roots have got damaged during the repotting process, as you know, I've been very careful with it, but if they do, they can rot sometimes if you suddenly give the plants a good heavy watering after repotting. In fact, cacti, including the epiphytic cacti, are different to other house plants, so just need to be a little bit careful. But other than that, I will give them a bit of a water, probably about 5 days time, and they should settle in then. The roots will have settled in, they'll settle into their new hanging basket. It's great. It also saves on space. I mean, another good thing about having hanging baskets, when you have like-minded plants together, it's a little bit like a bowl garden, but hanging up. It means you can save on space rather than having to have plants all over the window sills or on tables and things. When you can group them together, it does make a big difference in space, especially when you can hang them up too. That's great. So there you go. As I say, I'm going to let this settle in now. And it looks great. Very nice. With a bit of a spray. I'm going to get the water spray which I've left in the house. I'm going to hang this up in the polytunnel, but I'm probably going to hang this up tonight. Probably on one of the hanging baskets outside here. Get a bit of fresh air and just give it a bit of a spray with the water. But doesn't that look better, guys? Don't know how much you can see there. I'll just check. Move the stand away. Much better. And as I say, it's going to be lovely because they all flower around the same time, all lovely little flowers, and you're harvesting these little seeds off the little fruit berries in the next few days. And that's it then, guys. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I want to send you loads of love, heaps of happiness, and tons of plant power, as always, from Ireland. And until the next video, guys.